Lessons learnt on health and safety management in mega projects and building refurbishment. Managing health and safety in mega projects presents unique and complex challenges, given their vast scale and inherent risks. To address these issues, an evidence-based health and safety analysis approach has been developed, drawing from accumulated professional knowledge, accident data, and best practices. This innovative method encourages learning from real-world experiences, enabling project managers to implement effective strategies throughout all project stages, from design to construction and operation. By leveraging evidence-based insights, the approach supports continuous improvement in health and safety management for large-scale projects. Mega projects are large-scale ventures that normally cost $1 billion or above and have unique and inherent risk that present challenges to principal contractors. Safety and health risks are some of the most important risks in mega projects because of a comparatively high injury and mortality rate in the construction sector in comparison to other industries. While safety is the leading challenge in construction, the rate of improvements in safety has been slowing down. Therefore, this review discusses pertinent issues about safety and health in mega projects' lifecycle. The lifecycle health and safety management on mega projects is to make a connection with consistent health and safety management across working stages inside the whole life of the project. From this point of view, a literature review has been conducted to cover 3 working stages from design through construction to operation in order to establish a good understanding of current leading international practice and academic research in this area, along with justification of this paper. The health and safety standards in the context of the construction projects have become an area of international concern. Although the United Kingdom, the technical value of case-based learning or evidence-based learning has been widely recognized within the learned society in the construction industry. For example, REBA, as a representative from professional bodies, has started to publish a series of case studies to guide strategic facilities management. The representative from academics has applied case-based reasoning technique for safety, early warning in construction projects. Through a preliminary literature review, it has been found that there has been a lack of research into the application of case method for health and safety management in construction projects, and a dedicated research may help to explore a formal procedure with regard to making a good contribution to the body of knowledge in this area. With respect to this perspective, the focus of this research article has been to develop and design a generic framework at the design stage, at operation stage, and at construction stage in order to support the incorporation of evidence-based method for conducting the research in the domain of health and safety management in mega projects. The research article has also facilitated the gathering and collection of information and data from failures and accidents, and including the contemporary practice and innovations in the domain of health and safety management. The collection of information and data has been based on the notion of deriving valuable and useful lessons in order to provide improved practices in the domain of health and safety management of the mega projects. Therefore, it is important to formulate the main aim of this research article, as well as the objectives it is intended to achieve. The main aim of this article is to get professional opinions on the evidence-based health and safety analysis approach in mega projects across the world. This article describes the structure of and preliminary outcomes from an ongoing research into evidence-based learning for health and safety management in mega projects. Based on a brief literature review on health and safety management in construction projects and evidence-based practice, the aim and objectives of the described research were defined and then achieved through the use of a set of research methods including literature review, system analysis and design, and case study in order to present a new technical framework to facilitate the procedure of evidence-based health and safety analysis, EHSA, for health and safety management in construction projects. Knowledge reuse for health and safety management in mega projects and evidence-based learning in relation to health and safety management. This background review aims to justify whether it is necessary and how to conduct the research into a new EHSA approach to health and safety management in mega projects. Through the background section, researcher aims to provide evidences and justification related how to conduct research for evidence-based learning for health and safety management in mega projects. The researcher has divided this background section into further subsections that are accident analysis, accident report scheme, which will include RIDDOR, FACE, and SWA. Furthermore, on the basis of identified accident and reporting scheme related to the accident, the researcher also aims to provide knowledge driven for health and safety management and will also provide evidence-based learning for the case of accident regarding EHSA. Accident analysis. The importance of accident analysis is under discussing here because of the primary objective to understand the basic causes of such accidents and to overcome the effects resulted from such accidents. Moreover, the other main objective is to ensure the management of the health and safety issues in healthcare in mega projects. There have been reported several accidents during the construction of mega projects from all across the world, including the countries like USA, UK, and other well-developed countries. However, the construction accident, which is under construction here, is associated with construction accidents occurred at Houston Refinery. Accidents in mega projects occur worldwide, irrespective of developing or non-developing countries. However, there have also been reported some severe accidents in mega projects in countries such as USA and UK, and in other well-developed countries. On July 2008, an accident occurred at Houston TX. One of the nation's largest mobile cranes collapsed at the Houston oil refinery. A giant tower crane capable of lifting thousands of tons snapped at its base, resulted in smashing cars, cracking asphalt, and most importantly taking the lives of 4 innocent lives among them. The 4 workers working in refinery died on the spots, while 7 were also reported injured of different levels. The fatal accident not only raised health and safety concerns of the working group within America, but it also raised questions of health and safety for employee and staff working at mega projects at international level. Construction professionals and academic professionals have arisen questions regarding the labour policies of safety and health management. According to the CBS News, on the 17th July 2018, at near 2 p.m, the 30-storey tall crane having the capability of lifting 1 million pounds, fell over at Lyondell Basel Refinery in southeast Houston, confirmed by Jim Rocker, the vice president of the company. When a work-related accident leads to injury or death, it must be reported according to the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations, or RIDDOR. Established in 1995 and updated in 2013, RIDDOR sets clear guidelines for employers and workers to disclose such incidents. Similar frameworks like FACE and SWA in the United States provide further guidance to prevent workplace injuries. Evidence-based approaches and learning from past incidents are vital for improving safety and reducing risks, especially in large construction projects, RIDDOR report. When an employee or worker die or injured because of work-related accident, this has to be reported. RIDDOR stands for Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrence Regulations, and was introduced in the year 1995 and was further updated in the year 2013. RIDDOR report provides rules and guidelines that the employers, self-employed, and any individual working in the office premises are responsible to report the death or injury occurred within the office premise or from any work-related activity. The RIDDOR has provided clear guidelines about what incidents of injuries, accidents, and illness are needed by the law to be disclosed to the authorities. In the case of Houston accident, there were totally 7 injuries from which 3 were seriously injured, who acquired special attention and were reported serious cases. However, from the remaining 7 workers suffered from minor injuries. Though some of the workers suffered minor injuries, all the injuries and deaths causalities were immediately reported because of the severity of the case. The reason by which this accident created hype was that the Houston crane accident was not the only accident that occurred in the USA. There had also been reported a series of accidents within a state, such as crane accidents of New York 2007 and Miami 2008. FACE and SUBWA report. Similar with RIDOR report, under which the deaths and injuries of occupational class are reported, the FACE and SUBWA reports are also functions similar to the RIDOR framework. These FACE and SUBWA reports were developed in the year 1970 by National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, which is the United States federal agency that conducts research and proposes recommendations for the prevention of work-related injuries. The FACE reports are basically the national research program that is similar to RIDOR program and is mainly aimed to provide guidance to employees to prevent employees and workers with job-related injuries and deaths by following some guidelines and considerations. According to the research study conducted, these programs and framework investigate selected fatalities and identifying and evaluating hazard. Furthermore, these frameworks also provide guidelines related to development of workplaces, meanwhile, providing prevention and recommendation to the employees and all associated stakeholders. The effectiveness of the SWA report is well accepted, which is very much similar to the FACE report. Since its introduction, it provides perfect guidelines and precautions to the workers regarding their safety and health management issues, especially in mega projects. In the case of Houston crane accident, the researcher did not find appropriate pieces of evidence through which he can conclude that guidance of FACE and SWA were also followed by the management of the company. Though the subway construction did follow the RIDOR construction, the incident could be prevented by adopting the guidelines provided by FACE and SWA. Knowledge-driven health and safety management. The evidence-based approach for safety and health management are essential for addressing and dealing with the technical issues associated with health and safety risk, specifically in the construction of megaprojects. The accidents in megaprojects such as explosion, fire, suddenly fell down of construction mechanism or any other casualty can be avoided, minimized by acquiring knowledge of health and safety management. In providing the employee and workers with the information related to safety and health management, the role of health and safety professionals becomes more important in identifying the risks associated with health and safety and by providing recommendations and precautions to employee and workers, especially to those workers and professionals who dealt with the operational activities of site. The professionals who ensure the health and safety of megaprojects have to deal with several specific reasons. For instance, the health and safety risks as a result of demolition and structure instability are the most prominent one. The adoption of building information management is the one effective framework proposed by the health professionals in order to provide guidelines and precautions to the construction managers and other stakeholders associated with the construction's activities of projects of all types. In addition to this, these proposed framework and guidelines are suggested to follow in every activity of project in a continuous manner. Furthermore, it has always been important for the managers of megaprojects to develop and follow the systematic approach to ensure health and safety management. In addition to this, the risk management on targeting zero fatality in the construction has demonstrated the importance of knowledge-driven safety management. The examination and evaluation of past experiences and cases of accidents related to construction and management of megaprojects have enabled the professionals to propose and formulate such strategies that will be effective in minimizing the issues concerned with health and safety of the employee working in a construction process. The realization and need for seeking informed decision-making support in project management have enabled the health and safety managers to utilize the knowledge in demanding areas like management of megaprojects to ensure health and safety issues. Learning lessons from past experiences can be effective in minimizing the chances of accidents in the construction and management processes. Similarly, by considering the case of subway construction, in past there have already several cases been reported related to the oxygen cylinder explosion, and that have also caused several injuries and deaths. However, the management of subway construction did not take special attention, and was not fully aware of the danger that leads to the casualty, things can be done after an accident that can minimize the effects of the certain accident. The understanding and examining of accidents can only be possible by determining every single cause of accident. The evidence-based learning methods have been the most effective approach that the professionals and clinicians have adopted. It has been rated as the instrumental approach to support effective professional learning and in problem solving. In light of the study conducted, the evidence-based practice has been introduced in clinical practices for carefully examining and implementing best practices in decision-making. Furthermore, the general practice of evidence-based learning involves the assessment of patients, specifically asking particular questions from patients regarding the incident or any casualty. In addition to this, the evidence-based learning also involves appraising the evidence and incorporating the evidence with clinical expertise. Meanwhile, evaluating the performance. However, the evidence-based learning to health and safety management in megaprojects involves the consideration of facts, experiences, expectations, the project guidelines and regulations, meanwhile considering the project design through a similar procedure. According to the research study conducted by the evidence-based learning, has greatly integrated the evidence-based management. In addition to this, the evidence-based learning in light of management has both the levels that are strategic and tactic level. In the complex world of construction megaprojects, effective health and safety management is crucial. This research introduces an evidence-based health and safety analysis framework designed to bridge gaps in current practice. By utilizing proven methods such as the RIBE plan of work and drawing insight from documented case studies and incidents, the approach enables systematic learning from past experiences. The goal is to deliver actionable lessons and structured processes, supporting safer, more efficient management throughout the entire project lifecycle. Through this research study aims to minimize the literature gap regarding the evidence-based learning associated with the health and safety management in megaprojects. Technical analysis. The fundamental rationale behind carrying out technical analysis is the facilitation of the adoption-based method, which is going to be used for the purpose of evaluating the safety management process that is going to be used in the process of further safety and management initiatives. The individual that is responsible for carrying out the technical analysis of EHSR is the health and safety manager of the building. It has been found from the overview of literature in this regard that the framework for EHSR includes RIDDOR process, staged building refurbishment processes, and the process of decision-making of EHSR. The procedure of the entire work has been based on the implementation of EHSA framework in the specific construction-related accident that needs to further fulfill the requirement of the existing procedure that can be applied to the practice. The purpose of this research is to incorporate a formal procedure that could cover the life cycle of the building while covering the need of incorporating the technical review on the prospect of health and safety management in the context of construction-related accidents. Therefore, the plan of work offered by RIBS has been ideal for providing the work procedure which is then to be adopted for EHSA framework for construction-related accidents. The implementation of the framework of EHSR also required the case base that can provide a dire amount of evidence related to the areas as well as from the past projects incorporated by the site management that will conduct and apply the EHSA framework and the ones present on local and international level. Even there were numerous other sources of evidence available associated with health and safety management in megaprojects. One specific source of evidence, for instance, the documentation from the RIDDOR, has provided the structure of the case study that has been based on the information that was available on RIDDOR and other databases. Therefore, the particular structure has been needed for the case study in order to collect information in the consistent format, which would further help to retrieve evidence from EHSA case base. The conceptual framework for the safety and health management at megaprojects of construction has been developed in accordance with the technical analysis. Technical description. The symptomatic technical framework has been developed at the first stage of the research paper. As it has been demonstrated, the framework has been designed for the purpose of including all the activities in order to implement the generic and evidence-based learning and work procedure, and for that rebate plan of work has been chosen in order to adapt for catering the need for using the HSSE framework in the health and safety management of the construction projects. All the activities of HSSE framework, as well as its technical steps, are all interrelated in order to ensure that the effective application of the evidence-based learning has been executed for health and safety management at the construction megaprojects. There are certain activities which are going to be carried out for the purpose of carrying out megaprojects. These projects are extremely large-scale projects with large-scale investments. The megaprojects are also categorized as extremely expensive and complex on both human and technical terms. With respect to this, these projects require robust development and planning, due to which these projects obtain higher public attention. It is also due to the substantial impacts of these projects on communities, budgets, and environment, as well as the involvement of high costs. Therefore, these projects are physical initiatives having a capability of being expensive and public. Following are the activities. About the long-term needs of construction project management. This paper aims to provide an evidence-based health and safety analysis, EHSA, approach, and a list of reliable lessons learnt on health and safety in building refurbishment project. The research described in this paper was conducted through the use of an evidence-based method, EBM, underpinned by literature review and case studies. This paper describes a generic ESHER framework to support the use of knowledge reuse in practice-oriented research into health and safety management on building refurbishment. This paper aims to facilitate the collection of data and information from accidents and failures, as well as contemporary good practices and innovations, to derive useful lessons to inform improved practice in safety management in construction projects. Through the use of the theoretical framework, this paper demonstrates, through case studies, how this ESHER approach can effectively support learning lessons from previous construction projects. It is expected that this paper can make a good contribution to the body of knowledge by providing the new ESHER approach and a list of reliable lessons learnt with regards to construction health and safety. In the last decade, there have been many studies that have centered their attention towards assessing the best health and safety management procedures for building refurbishment and construction projects, considering environmental impacts in developed as well as developing countries. It is essential to consider this aspect while existing construction project and new construction projects. This paper aims to provide an ESHER approach and the consistent lessons learned on health and safety in mega construction projects for evidence-informed construction management and mega construction projects. Mega projects involve more uncertainty and danger than new construction projects. All those who contribute to the planning, design, construction, and commissioning and management of a mega project need to be aware of the potential health and safety risks that might arise. Construction project refers to the working on the current construction so as to enhance their environmental performance by taking sustainable processes and procedures into account. Herein, sustainable construction is similar to sustainable improvement that associates with construction of buildings. Mega construction projects comprise more uncertainty and risk about the health and safety issue than other projects. The projects associated with economic as well as technical uncertainties, and these risks need to be reduced by adopting safety management procedures. According to the research, there are 5 types of risks related to mega projects such as design information risk, cost risk, external and internal risk, and client briefing risk as well. Based on these aspects, the paper will not outline the risks associated with mega projects, but it will establish the background of the study while formulating the objectives and understanding the research methodology that would be incorporated. Taking into account assessment method and proposed solution, lessons as well as recommendations while responding to the refurbishment of the building. The construction and refurbishment industry faces unique challenges in ensuring health and safety on project sites. Through the ESHER approach, this research introduces a theoretical framework rooted in evidence-based management, aiming to foster safer practices in building refurbishment. By systematically collecting data from past accidents, failures, and innovative solutions, the ESHER framework empowers stakeholders to learn valuable lessons and reduce future risks. Ultimately, embracing such structured approaches is essential to protect workers and drive continuous improvement in safety management. This paper aims to provide ESHER approach and a list of reliable lessons learnt on health and safety in building refurbishment projects for evidence-informed health and safety management. This research has been conducted considering the following objectives to achieve the aim. A theoretical framework called ESHER approach to support the use of EBM in practice-oriented research into health and safety management for building refurbishment. A procedure to implement the framework to collect data and information from accidents and failures, as well as contemporary good practices and innovations. Also, to eventually derive useful lessons to apprise improved practice in safety management while building refurbishment. A demonstration through a case study as to how ESHER approach can effectively support learning lessons from previous building refurbishment projects. The research methodology adopted comprise a detailed literature review highlighting the aim and objectives of the study. Herein, the value of evidence-based management in managing risks and its significance is outlined through EBM framework. Following which, ESHER and its importance are highlighted by detailing a theoretical framework of the ESHER approach and its implementation procedure. Furthermore, information safety management is defined, and a case study is discussed, subsequent to which the lessons learnt from the case study and recommendations for the same are outlined in the research showcasing and asserting the aim of the study. The infrastructure and construction industry is the most demanding and at the same time, the most vigilant industry. It demands the workforce involved in this industry to be attentive and observant. Through the survey conducted by APM, it has been highlighted that the 50% of the issues and workload has been found in the infrastructure and construction domain. There have been many accidents that are reported in this industry because of sheer ignorance, incompetence, and inability. It has also taken lives of innocent people which needs to be mitigated. However, approaches such as EBM and ESHER comprise such regulations and framework which help in mitigating such risks and providing a stable and error-free certification. As the mega projects are complex and unique in nature, thus, there are need for a strong procedure to finish within the stipulated process. As per the current practice, the major stakeholders are serious about the stipulation of boundaries, but there are no such strategies which can control the systematic progress. Unfortunately, knowledge reuse also not using by the industry practitioner. The study has been directed at understanding how health and safety management is important in the process of construction projects. With the advancement in technology, a lot of procedures and functionalities have changed, and it has also improvised the skill set of the workforce. Evidence-based learning enhances sustainability and is a significant step towards safety management during construction. By utilizing knowledge reuse strategies, mega projects industry can reduce risks at mega project sites in a systematic and operating process. On the other hand, the construction strategies recommended can be taken into consideration, which will make sure for selecting right techniques and tools in managing and reducing risks. This will also enable them to optimize production and select right materials to minimize the impact of refurbishment risks and collapses. Moreover, the EBM framework will ensure good work quality by maintaining sustainability in refurbishment site. By adopting building refurbishment techniques and strategies, UK refurbishment industries can upgrade their quality of performance by making reasonable changes, which will lead towards success, EBM became a mainstream conception during the 1990s, and it started becoming acknowledged as an approach which considers and integrates the notion of ecological as well as socio-economic connectivity along with holism. Also, EBM outlines sector-based approaches to managing the process of refurbishment. The study also outlined equivalent standard approach, which comes under alternative safety approaches, ASA, constituting to evidence-based safety analysis, ESHER. Implementing ESHER under ASA process necessitates commitment and seriousness from both parties, and before implementing it, expectations are that all the applicants have had an interaction with the safety authority. The ESHER comprises an application and a proposal which is submitted as an application package to the safety authority. Once the package is reviewed by the authority, they might ask for more details before deciding on something. Once they determine the proposal, a written notification is set out for the proposed outcome. It depends on the Safety Authority Board to accept or reject the proposal as deemed fit. The accidents on the site can impact the contractors as well as the client and their business in building refurbishment. It may affect the efficiency and productivity of the labour and employees related to the refurbishment work. It may also result in people leaving the work for injuries and sick leave. The revenue generation of the project could decrease due to the specific delays in completion of the work or because of the damages to the structure that are caused by the unplanned collapses. The ESHER is important in the refurbishment projects. This concept states that during building refurbishment, the health and safety concerns should be taken into consideration. All the new buildings must first undergo scrutiny so that it is known how much safe the building would be in refurbishing. This would also mean that the building refurbishment is carried out and safety concerns are determined by recording the evidence. Therefore, ESHER is important in this respect as well. Health and safety measures play a pivotal role and possess a great deal of influence in the management and designing of refurbishment projects. It can be specifically stated that health and safety measures are one of the key factors in the selection of the methods of demolition for avoiding the structural instability and preventing the structural collapses. It is quite critical to identify the structural collapses events with conventional and unconventional causes. Unconventional causes are related to the catastrophic and natural events like the floods, earthquakes, avalanche, etc., whereas the unconventional causes can be verified, reduced, controlled, or removed. However, evidence-based safety management is an essential aspect since it assesses the economic cases of refurbishment comprising impact on communities and residents, focuses on energy and carbon implications compared to refurbishment, and also integrates social factors. Also, the UK supply chain market lacks in having sufficient information, so evidence-based safety management assists the market to consider varied hidden costs, which are related to refurbishment. Considering the current standards of newly built houses outlines that such houses have low operational energy as compared to old ones. But refurbishment of buildings can accomplish lower operational energy levels and can switch fuel sources taking renewable resources into account. Other essential aspects such as water and waste management are also considered taking into account social factors of well-being, housing, health and urban design as well. The accidents on the site can impact the contractors as well as the client and their business in building refurbishment. It may affect the efficiency and productivity of the labour and employees related to the refurbishment work. It may also result in people leaving the work for injuries and sick leave. The revenue generation of the project could decrease due to the specific delays in completion of the work or because of the damages to the structure that are caused by the unplanned collapses. The tragic collapse of the Ashford building, resulting in the loss of 4 workmen's lives, highlights the dire consequences of inadequate safety management during refurbishment. The disaster was traced to the removal of crucial structural elements, a mistake rooted in poor oversight, and a lack of proper risk assessment. Implementing evidence-based management and the ESHER approach could have averted such tragedy by ensuring safety protocols were informed by past incidents and best practices, ultimately safeguarding both workers and buildings. The case of Ashford building, where about 4 workmen were impacted, resulting to their death because of the collapse of the building, was because of the sheer incompetence of the construction workforce. A report published stated that there was no problem from a long time since the load of the bricks above was disseminated through the building by the adjacent window frames and blockwork. When refurbishment started, the workers began removing this blockwork, increasing the structural load on light-weighted concrete blocks. It resulted in therapid and disastrous collapse of about 2/3 of the building. It was a sheer irresponsibility of the people who were engaged in this construction work, and it was all on the management. As per the case study which resulted in the death of 4 workmen, the accident could have been avoided if ESHER approach along with EBM had been implemented. It has been learnt from this research that EBM for safety management for the building refurbishment is the most effective method. This is because this method helps in facilitation about information and data collected from the accidents, as well as failures and innovative designs. It has also been learnt that ESHER is helpful for safety management in the building refurbishment. Based on the research undertaken, building refurbishment requires a lot of safety and consideration of several factors to ensure that all risks involved are managed effectively to minimize any dangers. It is intended particularly for clients in refurbishment firms who have limited experience of refurbishment in buildings, but it has lessons for more experienced experts. The entire study shows that the refurbishment industry needs to have the proper accessibility of the safety measurements and need to make good use of the safety management tools. The understanding developed through EBM and ESHER approach helps in analysing the situations that it is essential to consider safety management before refurbishment of any project. Thus, there needs to be a proper risk, as well as the safety measurable policies, which will ultimately help in governing the different measurements as well as to give the better productivity out of it. The healthy environment is crucial for the staffs that are working there. They need to be protected and secured enough. There need to be proper treatment regarding the hazardous wastes, and at the same time, the relevant enactment of the different rules and the procedures. However, this paper provides an ESHER approach to support the use of EBM in practice-oriented research into safety management for building refurbishment. A procedure to implement the framework to collect data and information from accidents and failures, as well as contemporary good practices and innovations. Also, to eventually derive useful lessons to apprise improved practice in safety management while building refurbishment, and a demonstration through a case study as to how ESHER approach can effectively support learning lessons from previous building refurbishment projects. It has also been identified that the theoretical approach and framework involved leads to a better understanding of the ways in which ESHER framework can be studied and applied to the process of refurbishment of the buildings. Through the following study, it aimed that the background of the refurbishment industry and the safety measures that are necessary is discussed. Further, it is aimed that the detailed study of ESHER and EBM approach is done with a case study for in-depth analysis. Refurbishment work represents some 41% of UK refurbishment activity overall, and it is considered to be more hazardous than new building refurbishment. Qua 1988. Consideration of refurbishing the structures goes alongside the economic factor, which means spending less compared to setting up a new one all the same. The mounting or escalated rate of refurbishment further reflects on the mounting risks as accidents became rampant in history. Apparently, until such time reliable data of refurbishment accidents becomes available, it can be assumed that at least half of all refurbishment accidents occur during projects. The presumption, therefore, confronts proper establishment of procedural steps that can be applied in the refurbishment process. The practical aim of this paper is to use evidence-based analysis to provide a more secure framework for decisions and procedures to ensure safety. The consideration is not only felt in the refurbishment work is being undertaken, but also during the subsequent periods of building use, reuse, refitting and modification, and when further adaptations are undertaken until the time of demolition. The value of EBM in managing risks. Every year in the UK, the insurance companies which pay millions of pounds in claims that is followed by the destruction of the buildings during the process of refurbishment, new construction and extension. The entire process entails substantial risks and dangers that might result in serious structural collapse, fires and security breaches as well. The entire process can cause project delays and amplified costs, ensuing undesirable pressure for the owners of the home as well as for the neighbours. Casperson et al. 1988. However, the risks seen at refurbishment sites are becoming a pressing issue for the developed country like UK that has a huge impact on the productivity of refurbishment industries of UK. It put a tremendous impact on the environment as well as on human life, and however, such issues can be resolved when the entire community will work collaboratively and implement new strategies of building refurbishment policies posed with evidence-based management, EBM, framework that enhances sustainability. It is important for every individual to understand the importance of identifying and pretending risks so that it enables them in identifying and reducing the risks take place in refurbishment sites. By utilizing EBM framework lessons and strategies, UK refurbishment industry can reduce risks at refurbishment sites in a systematic and operating process. On the other hand, the building refurbishment strategies recommended can be taken into consideration, which will make sure for selecting right techniques and tools in managing and reducing risks. Rousseau, 2006. This will also enable them to optimize production and select right materials to minimize the impact of refurbishment risks and collapses. Moreover, the EBM framework will ensure good work quality by maintaining sustainability in refurbishment site. Evidence-based management does not depend on experiences or disposition. The research is valid enough as it will motivate and suggest the refurbishment process in managing refurbishment risks. Using building refurbishment policies allows them to take effective measures to reduce refurbishment risks. The refurbishment industries in the UK need to implement their policies taken from EBM framework to achieve the sustainable goal. By adopting building refurbishment techniques and strategies, UK refurbishment industries can upgrade their quality of performance by making reasonable changes, which will lead towards success. EBM became a mainstream conception during the 1990s, and it started becoming acknowledged as an approach which considers and integrates the notion of ecological as well as socio-economic connectivity along with holism. Also, EBM outlines sector-based approaches to managing the process of refurbishment, the basic principles which are followed through the EBM processes. Firstly, EBM focuses on a particular place and ecosystem, and considers the varied activities and undertakings which impact the ecosystem comprising physical as well as human activities associated with it. Secondly, EBM puts emphasis on safeguarding the structure of the ecosystem, its functions and approaches. Thirdly, EBM clearly integrates interconnectedness within the systems, acknowledging the significance of communication amongst the key services. Fourthly, EBM also addresses interconnectedness between environments like sea, land, and air. Fifthly, EBM incorporates the social, ecological, institutional, and economic perceptions acknowledging their interdependence as well as mutual effects. Lastly, EBM addresses the management sectors and also contemplates on significant relationships and interactions amongst constituents of the social system, highlighting the necessity for combined governance procedures. Ecosystem-based management, or EBM, brings a holistic perspective to managing both natural and human systems. It recognizes that people, like managers and stakeholders, are inseparable from the ecosystems they influence. EBM promotes long-term planning, integrating adaptive management to allow flexibility and learning throughout project implementation. By emphasizing the sustained provision of ecosystem services, it underscores the importance of provisioning, regulating, cultural, and supporting functions. This comprehensive approach ensures that environmental decisions are informed, adaptive, and responsive to complex human and ecological needs. There being no source of data specifically related to the refurbishment accidents, 3 general sources of statistical data can be used to investigate the risks involved: the EU safety statistics, the Registrar General's occupation mortality data, and the HSSE accident statistics. The EU data is limited to facility statistics, aggregated on an industry basis by the nation. The RIDOR, Reporting of Injuries, Diseases, and Dangerous Occurrences Regulation database, is the major source of data on refurbishment injuries. For the purpose of this paper, the RIDOR work accident data has been analysed to help establish the chances of injury across the various activities of the refurbishment industry. It also helps to indicate the priority areas for health and safety measures. The accidents on the site can impact the contractors as well as the client and their business in building refurbishment. It may affect the efficiency and productivity of the labour and employees related to the refurbishment work. It may also result in people leaving the work for injuries and sick leave. The revenue generation of the project could decrease due to the specific delays in completion of the work, or because of the damages to the structure that are caused by the unplanned collapses. At the same time, it is important to evaluate the damage that affected the adjoining properties, and it needs to be compensated by the contractor or the client, specifically depending on the responsibility for the damage. An environmental assessment must also be critically analysed in the refurbishment works that involves demolition activities. The environmental aspects like recycle of debris, waste treatment, etc., must also be planned in a secured manner. The environmental impact factors, if not properly assessed, can negatively affect the advantages that are achieved from the refurbishment project. The ESHER is important in the refurbishment projects. This concept states that during building refurbishment, the health and safety concerns should be taken into consideration. All the new buildings must first undergo scrutiny so that it is known how much safe the building would be in refurbishing. This would also mean that the building refurbishment is carried out and safety concerns are determined by recording the evidence. Therefore, ESHER is important in this respect as well. Theoretical framework of ESHER approach. The areas that include management, design, and refurbishment, the participants will have the opportunity to avoid, reduce, and control the risks at 3 basic levels of intervention. The strategic level made of implementing safety strategy, operational issues, which entail safety plans, and tactical levels on the safety actions. In managing refurbishment projects, the focus will be to contain the forces associated with safety, risk, and health issues through strategy, operation, and tactical levels. While zero fatality must always be the prime health and the safety objective, the current level of fatalities would not require a special risk assessment to be taken. The implementation procedure for the ESHER is based on the safety regulations that are added conventionally. Some issues will need to be addressed. The infections should be reduced, and improved hand hygiene should comply to implement the ESHER method. There should be at least 4 participant types, and decisions should be made on 3 levels. The ESHER regulations should comply in this regard, and the hierarchy should be followed. The safety will be checked and regulated on an operational level, and for that purpose, it will be ensured that the specific site processes are carried out by following a particular form of safety method, which, when applied, will make sure that the least accidents during building refurbishment are occurring. Equivalent standard approach is basically an alternative safety approach, which offers replacement of one or more requirements that are set out in regulation under safety authority, wherein the requirements set out are that ESHER can be established by a standard setting body, a written statement which is signed by a professional, and all written documents that are acknowledged by the safety manager. The ESHER comprises an application and a proposal which are submitted as an application package to the safety authority. Once the package is reviewed by the authority, they might ask for more details before deciding on something. Once they determine the proposal, a written notification is set out for the proposed outcome. It depends on the Safety Authority Board to accept or reject the proposal as deemed fit. ESHER comprises a detailed description of how the proponent would assess and analyse the efficiency of ESHER, wherein audit and inspection have been the main tools for sustaining the quality of the product. Audit and inspection can also be taken into account for recognising as to how safety can be enhanced. Herein the measures for assuring safety are assessed to their impact and effectiveness. Further, the proposal comprises a description of the procedures which make it certain that ESHER is effective and can be continually enhanced. In managing refurbishment projects, the focus will be to contain the forces associated with safety, risk, and health issues through strategy, operation, and tactical levels. While zero fatality must always be the prime health and the safety objective, the current level of fatalities would not require a special risk assessment to be taken. Health and safety measures play a pivotal role and possess a great deal of influence in the management and designing of refurbishment projects. It can be specifically stated that health and safety measures are one of the key factors in the selection of the methods of demolition for avoiding the structural instability and preventing the structural collapses. It is quite critical to identify the structural collapses events with conventional and unconventional causes. Unconventional causes are related to the catastrophic and natural events like the floods, earthquakes, avalanche, etc., whereas the unconventional causes can be verified, reduced, controlled, or removed. However, evidence-based safety management is an essential aspect since it assesses the economic cases of refurbishment comprising impact on communities and residents, focuses on energy and carbon implications compared to refurbishment, and also integrates social factors. According to this theory, there are only three forms of capital, namely land, labour, and produced capital resources. Only these three forms of capital are to be used for evaluating the sustainability in refurbishment. Therefore, the natural capitalism theory might be of immense importance for the UK refurbishment companies, as the organisations might be able to evaluate the type of land, labour requirements and resources required, which would help in waste elimination. In a refurbishment site, the four main components are required to meet up the requirement of the setting. The component of radical resource productivity helps to obtain the similar or excess amount of productivity from the utilised resource. It helps to maintain and earn a profit in the refurbishment business. The economic case for refurbishment through evidence-based safety management is assessed, and estimated cost and impact of refurbishment are subjective and is uncertain. However, the cost indicators taken into account for such refurbishment and demolition projects are capital expenditures and capital investment appraisal. Key issues are assessed, such as the cost of waste disposal. Long-term impacts are assessed as well. Also, the UK supply chain market lacks in having sufficient information, so evidence-based safety management assists the market to consider varied hidden costs which are related to refurbishment. Reyes and Mansfield, 2001. Considering the current standards of newly built houses outlines that such houses have low operational energy as compared to old ones. But refurbishment of buildings can accomplish lower operational energy levels and can switch fuel sources, taking renewable resources into account. Other essential aspects, such as water and waste management, are also considered, taking into account social factors of well-being, housing, health and urban design as well. The tragic collapse of the Ashford building stands as a stark reminder of the critical importance of thorough structural assessment during refurbishment projects. Originally built as a single-storey structure, Subsequent expansions introduced vulnerabilities that went unnoticed until it was too late. When workers removed load-bearing blockwork during renovation, the weakened columns failed, causing a catastrophic collapse and the loss of 4 lives. This case underscores the need for rigorous safety protocols, diligent risk assessments, and adherence to building regulations to prevent similar disasters. A case study has been observed to facilitate a better understanding of the implementation of EBA and EBM approach in the refurbishment process. It is not just to highlight the possibilities within the process of refurbishment, but also to understand at an experimental level about how things can go irrational. The refurbishment projects have observed critical situations wherein the safety of the residents and also the workers has been compromised with. It is therefore important to incorporate safety measures and identify the possibilities before indulging in the practice. This renders the experimental analysis an important study to build a robust safety system. Case study: Avoiding structural collapses in refurbishment. Ashford building. The Ashford building collapse killed 4 workmen, and as a result, it has been reported as one of the most important cases wherein the structural collapses and the need for their avoidance has been generated. The building, while starting on construction, was only single-story building in the year of 1969 and 1970. In the works published by Loughborough University, 2006, it has been highlighted that the structural collapses during the process of refurbishment can be avoided through proper speculation of what the condition of the building under process is. The further expansion of other floors done in 1970 and had refurbished due to damage. The cause of damage has detailed investigation and has provided information has serious defects found in the real construction of vertical side of the extension of the structure and provided the huge issues concerned with safety measures and has the lower rise of buildings while the change of structure. The other important aspects of the damage have been followed. The government officials had warned the people beforehand that those working on Ashford building shall consider that there was a risk which might completely result in the collapse of the building because of small local faults. This ignorance resulted in the death of 4 workmen. The building has an extension of 3 floors, and with the use of lightweight concrete blocks created for the base and parapet wall that has been positioned as left and utilized for support of load-bearing columns in the first floor. The damage has been due to the one of the lightweight structure and has immediate catastrophic damage of 2/3 of structure. Has highlighted in his works that the investigation methodology serves the right match when it comes to identifying the building and its collapse during refurbishment practices. The intensity of damage has been evaluated for lacking of structural continuation of and present in the structural elements. The structural investigations of brick columns in the first floor have presented no outer visible symbol of lightweight concrete blocks of columns. The effective necessity of the hide facing of the wall and has internal plaster and consisting of filled brickwork. The damages in the base contained 16 columns on the first floor that were not constructed well, and the damage to the floor and evaluation has presented the construction. The damage has found the brick column in the building has non-competent and irresponsible part of the real construction work and the management. The instructions by HSSE have provided a report on Ashford building damage in the Report on HSE Investigation, 1999. The report has following aspects. The project team has consisted of advisors and renovation, refurbishment and demolition, have the necessity for investigation. The Building Regulations Act in Fifth Amendment that provided information on building regulations and have addressed the necessity of strong building and structural constituent that has not proportional. The risk assessment has consisted risk of damage. The heavy plant has to be used for structural creation and has important for the building. The system has a plan and necessary for operations should be exact in propping of the building and has required all structural changes. A report published stated that there was no problem from a long time since the load of the bricks above was disseminated through the building by the adjacent window frames and blockwork. When refurbishment started, the workers began removing this blockwork, increasing the structural load on light-weighted concrete blocks. It resulted in therapid and disastrous collapse of about two-thirds of the building. It was a sheer irresponsibility of the people who were engaged in this construction work, and it was all on the management since the construction industry demands workforce to be vigilant and to be attentive in contrast to such deliberate ignorance. The issues and defects analysed in the brick columns showcase sheer incompetence, which resulted in the loss of 4 lives, Canfield, 2000. However, if the building would have been built after 1970, it would have been less prone to such a collapse. Lessons learnt. As per the case study, which resulted in the death of 4 workmen, the accident could have been avoided if ESHER approach, along with EBM, had been implemented. It has been learnt from this research that EBM for safety management for the building refurbishment is the most effective method. This is because this method helps in facilitation about information and data collected from the accidents, as well as failures and innovative designs. It has also been learnt that ESHER is helpful for safety management in the building refurbishment. The cause of this accident, as happened in the case study, was because the foundation and temporary support of the building were undermined, the lateral support of the building was removed, and the building was heavily impacted. If the EBM and ESHER approaches had been implemented, various control measures would have been applied. Firstly, through ESHER, the safety authority would have had duty holders who would have been accountable to monitor and gauge the building and would control the stability, ensuring that the workmen and public are not put at risk in the first place. And even if the building collapses, the building shall be made in such a manner that if the building becomes unstable at some point in time, a large exclusion zone would be there to handle any hazards till the rectification process is finished. There are safety issues that need to be handled in any construction project. Coordination of such strategy requires the interaction of the clients, planners, engineers, and architects. Fayette Allard 2000. Effective communication between all project participants at strategic, operational, and tactical level is the prerequisite for the successful containment of the risks. It is essential that clear objectives can be established for the management of health and safety before refurbishment work begun. Objectives must be unambiguous, specifying which health and safety risks to be managed. As adopted from Measurement in Evidence-Based Design, 2017, it is important to verify the principles and policies that are put into the refurbishment process. Based on the generic research framework to support the use of an EBM in research into safety management for building refurbishment, it is possible to restructure and refurbish the buildings. The same applies to the procedural implementation of the framework to collect data and information from accidents and failures, as well as contemporary good practice and innovations. However, to ensure work would not be hampered due to any condition, professional engineers are entitled to such procedures, which are why EBM and ESHER are important. With the help of ESHER, it is certified by the safety authority that there is no hazards and danger to the workmen or public. It clearly showcases that the aforementioned case and accident could easily have been avoided by implementing ESHER and EBM approach. Building refurbishment demands careful attention to safety and risk management at every stage. For clients with limited experience, understanding and implementing effective safety measures is crucial, but even seasoned professionals can benefit from these insights. Evidence-based management and the equivalent standard approach provide frameworks for assessing risks, enforcing safety protocols, and ensuring compliance. By prioritizing employee well-being, managing hazardous waste responsibly, and adhering to regulatory standards, refurbishment firms can enhance productivity and create safer, healthier environments for everyone involved. Based on the research undertaken, building refurbishment requires a lot of safety and consideration of several factors to ensure that all risks involved are managed effectively to minimize any dangers. It is intended particularly for clients in refurbishment firms who have limited experience of refurbishment in buildings, but it has lessons for more experienced experts. The entire study shows that the refurbishment industry needs to have the proper accessibility of the safety measurements and need to make good use of the safety management tools. With the help of this, the different managerial services can be protected, and at the same time, the working condition of the employees can also be uplifted. The proper attention also needs to be provided to the employees so that they can be able to feel protected in the working environment. The understanding developed through EBM and ESHER approach helps in analysing the situations that it is essential to consider safety management before refurbishment of any project. Thus, there needs to be a proper risk, as well as the safety measurable policies which will ultimately help in governing the different measurements, as well as to give the better productivity out of it. The healthy environment is crucial for the staffs that are working there. They need to be protected and secured enough. There need to be proper treatment regarding the hazardous wastes, and at the same time, the relevant enactment of the different rules and the procedures. Evidence-based management does not depend on experiences or disposition. The research is valid enough as it will motivate and suggest the refurbishment process in managing refurbishment risks. Using building refurbishment policies allows them to take effective measures to reduce refurbishment risks. The refurbishment industries in the UK need to implement their policies taken from EBM framework to achieve the sustainable goal. By adopting building refurbishment techniques and strategies, UK refurbishment industries can upgrade their quality of performance by making reasonable changes, which will lead towards success. ESHER is equivalent standard approach that is applied to a specific aspect of an operation or installation. It comes under alternative safety approaches, ASA, constituting to which evidence-based safety analysis is derived. This approach provides for the replacement of one or more than one requirements taken into consideration under the Regulations Act. Basically, ESHER can be applied for a restricted number of government replacements within a technology. It can be implemented with varied technologies when it is taken into account as a substitute for a particular product and when the client does not require added changes. It cannot be used for licensing, permitting, or managerial requirements. Crilly, 2001. Both these approaches are equally important, while refurbishment, since they assist in safeguarding and mitigating dangers and health hazards, while protecting workmen and the general public from accidents such as outlined in the case study. Control measures shall always be implemented, which is done through EBM and ESHER approaches. Especially, ESHER approach is such that it ensures that work wouldn't compromise stability or put the lives of workmen and public in danger. ESHER approach inspects the bracing arrangements and safeguards the refurbishment procedure. Assessment of the stability and inspections along with risk assessment is carried out beforehand through ESHER by safety authority, and duty holders already make it certain that there is structural support comprising temporary bracing and stability. However, it is recommended that ESHER and EBM approaches shall be applied before starting or planning, to begin with, refurbishment, since these approaches are essential in safeguarding people and workmen and in building a robust structure. This section covers available methods or tools for knowledge reuse. Various information management tools are commonly used to collect and share building data, which can be broadly classified as KM technologies, IT tools, and KM technologies, non-IT tools, AI Gasani, 2003. KM tools, including groupware, expert or data directory, custom software, platform, post-project reviews, PPR, action communities, COP, etc. The most common way is to build PPR and COP files for data collection and sharing, Orange, et al., 1999. The effectiveness of information sharing and communication in the parties is strongly influenced by reciprocity standards. You help me, and I help you, and the level of trust created in the community. To define the core concept of health and safety in design, the researcher developed various stages as described below in Table 5. As per the review of finding in consideration to construction design stage, the health management and safety practices are summarized. Considering the health and safety in design from both academic and practices, design safety in companies, it can be said that to provide prudent safety measures for mega projects, it is necessary for both the designers and safety management personnel of an organization to work in collaboration during the design stage of the project. Moreover, safety in design, as studied, provides an observation that the health and safety strategies are best reviewed and understood when applied. It is clear through a literature review that both practitioners and academics have paid high attention to the importance of health management and safety practices at the design stage, and current progress are found in companies' practice as well as academic research. Because knowledge reuse can help designers to learn lessons from previous projects, it is important to incorporate an effective knowledge reuse process in design to improve health and safety at construction and operation stage. As a useful tool for knowledge reuse in practice, the evidence-based method has been applied across many industrial sectors, but has not been applied with regards to health management and safety practices in construction design stage. From this point of view, new research pertaining to experimental methods of improved health management and safety in design is in need. Welcome to our channel, dedicated to sharing knowledge and educational content designed to inspire and inform. Our mission is to provide clear, reliable information on a variety of topics, making learning accessible and enjoyable for everyone. If you find our videos helpful, please show your support by liking, following, and subscribing. Your engagement helps us grow and continue creating quality educational material. Thank you for being a part of our learning community.